It's dark out, but apparently it's gonna start snowing again. And, like, the notification snapped me out of being on my phone. So I'm gonna try and finish this sign I've been making because it is taking entirely too long. So this is just like a side project because I got like inspired to make something but didn't quite know what, and Zines just felt like, because I've been craving to make like something that's kind of got like a movement to it, I guess. And kind of how I talked in my past video about making interactive art, I guess this is kind of an extension of that. But yeah, so kind of the theme and the story and the message of this will develop as I go on. But this page was pretty simple. I think I saw a picture of like somewhere on Jupiter, and they had these massive like spires. No, it's not Jupiter. Am I crazy? Is Jupiter a gas giant? I can't. Anyways, I saw it somewhere and had cool mountains like that with like the spire, like that had like a weird peak, and so I got inspired to make something like that. And then this one, which one's this? Okay, this is the one where we kind of. Also, there's a. No, I did show the front of the book, but yeah, as I said, this is something that I kind of started and then decided, well, I could like show my process. And so I did. And this page is kind of about kind of introducing our main character, which is this polar bear, and introducing kind of his family. I think maybe the polar bear was the wrong, because sometimes I'll use polar bears as, sometimes I'll use polar bears as like metaphors for like I don't know, how do you say, like a metaphor for the resiliency we think nature has. Because, when you think of a polar bear, that's a big animal. It's a scary animal for a lot of people. But you never, like, if you look at the photos of kind of polar bears losing their homes and stuff, that's something that, it scares me. And so yeah, that's kind of how I use it, and I think that's how I meant to use it when I started it. But then the story shifted, and it might not make sense right now why I kind of have qualms about using the polar bear. But it will make sense. I'll explain it. But not right now. I really like the blue Poscas, the blue and the yellow. They're both really good. I also like the pink, but sometimes it's not as kind of solid as I want it to be, whereas the yellow is usually pretty solid, and the blue is always a solid, kind of opaque color. So is the black. I like the black too. But now I'm just doing kind of more a storybook type layout where one of the kids speaks up about the last page. Yeah. So basically the story is about this polar bear, and he's kind of explaining to his kids, or not his, maybe his grandkids, I'm not quite sure. Not his kids though. But people that look up to him. He's talking to them about how, there was he's trying to warn them about falling down the same path as people did, like as he said. So we moved somewhere else. That was after the abolition of man. And then this kid says, well, didn't you travel with a man in search of a new home or whatever? And the elder polar bear, he says, well, no, I would never travel with one of those heinous things. Yeah, so it's kind of, it sets up man as an antagonistic force. It kind of says, it says kind of we're not on the pedestal that we usually are. Yeah. So I'm just waiting for it to dry now. Yeah, here I am. I made a second Zine because it wasn't really it was like there wasn't enough pages because the Zine's only got, I think it's 8 panels, like individual pages, and only 2 spreads. So I made a second Zine and I stapled them together. Well, I didn't staple the original copies together so I can make copies, but I did staple the copies together. And so this is, I skipped a page because I was waiting for the other one to dry. Here we go. Yeah, here we are, finishing that one page, and yeah, so it's kind of, it's about, I'm trying to not like reveal my hand too much. So it's about how ideologies that have fallen and have gone out of, not necessarily use, but out of popularity, for all you civics people out there out of the Overton window, it's about how stuff like that becomes kind of comes back, I guess, how it reappears. Not sure what I'm doing here. Yeah, it basically talks about how man was a force that, quote, ate itself to death. And that Dan, the person that the grandfather was traveling with, made a choice to kind of go against the popular zeitgeist. By the end of it, I kind of rethink Dan as a character, I guess, and I think I kind of came to the conclusion that Dan is like a propagandized version of the good. It's kind of like when people, I don't know, it's kind of like how people will be like, oh no, but he's a good one of that group of people. Like it's never truly, it's a propagandized version of it. There's no good person. There are good people in bad systems, but there is no good component of a system that is part of a bad system. So that's kind of what it's talking about. Yeah, he goes on to kind of stress the importance of Dan's choice, one we must all make to avoid the same fate. Yeah, I think here I'm using a micron, but earlier for like the mahogany colors, it is I forget the brand, but it is there you can see it there, It's a watercolor coloring pencil. But yeah, I think that because I was running out of one of my Prismacolors, that's like a Tuscan red. I think that's what it is. Tuscan red. Love that Prismacolor. Tuscan red. It's Tuscan or Tuscany red. I forget, but it's really good. And I use it a lot for sketching, usually. But yeah, that's what that is. It's kind of like a watercolor coloring pencil substitute for it, I guess. There I'm drawing a little heart because I was waiting for everything to dry. Here I'm kind of going through all the pages, and I'm just doing, here's the last spread. Just kind of pointing out the hypocrisy in it. I never really point out the thing about Dan being a propagandized version. I just kind of hope that is something people will read into it, if they don't see this, of course. And I am at some point gonna go put out a few copies if I have of this sign just kind of around with, but I don't know. Not soon. Yeah. Here I am using that yellow and that blue Posca again. Because I love how the yellow reads on a white background. And I also like the blue. And here I am just doing the last page. This isn't part of it. It's kind of like a brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. But it's just kind of trying to stress the story by saying, this message is brought to you by a heavy hand. Which I don't think is clever wordplay in any shape or form. But I do think it's funny. And there I am using that watercolor wash that I used right at the beginning on those mountain things. So yeah, overall, fun project. I've got a few copies. I might print out a couple more, just to put around my town. And if you want a kind of a better go through of them than what you got in that super sped up video, here it is. And yeah, overall, really fun project. The printing kind of changed the color of some of the colors I used. Like this is like an orange, but they turned it into like a red. And like there's a spot on it for some reason that's on all of the copies. This got turned more like pink than the original red it was. It's interesting, like interesting little quirks. But yeah, it was fun. Thanks for tuning in. See you later, maybe.